All right, now that I've got some details on the buildings, and of course more details are going to be added when I use my pencil crayons to shade, I'm going to work on the left side of my street now. I could put more buildings, but I'm actually going to have this side of the street almost be like a little park. So I need to create some trees. Now, the trees are a little bit tough. It's really important to remember that the trunk of the tree should always be completely vertical. This is another one of those times where our mind plays tricks on us, and we tend to sort of make the trees on an angle, and it always looks like they're falling over. So for my first tree, I'm just going to start with my trunk. Of course, the closer to the edge of the page, the larger the tree is going to be. So as I get closer to my vanishing point, they're going to get quite small. So you can see I've created a tree here, a tree trunk, and it's completely vertical. And now I'm just going to go in and add the details that are going to be the top of the tree. Now, of course, there's going to end up being a lot more detail put in here when I use my pencil crayons for shading. And I can also at that point add some of the textures that are in the trunk. Sometimes they have those little holes in them. Okay, maybe there'll be like a little bird's nest somewhere on a ledge with a little birdie peeking out. That's something I can work on later. But what I want to do now, just to give me sort of a border of where my trees should fit into, I already know they can't go past my sidewalk on the bottom. But since I've got my tallest tree here, I'm just going to go from the edge of my tallest tree and make a line towards the vanishing point. Nice and light. All of the trees that I draw from now on need to fit within that line. So my next tree trunk can be a little shorter than this one. And then this first tree is going to be blocking some of this second tree. So we can't see part of the edge there, but we've got this line here that tells me, it forces me to keep this tree shorter than this one. And then as I continue, the trees should also technically get closer together and the trunks should get a little more narrow. Okay, so there's my third tree. And so on and so forth. And again, this is where our minds really start to play tricks with us, and we tend to put the tree trunks on an angle, which will make them look like they are about to fall over. Okay, and there we have our row of trees. Now we can actually go back and we can erase this line that sort of gave us the border of where our trees should end, and then we can actually polish up some of that detail there. So again, these are going to get more interesting looking when we add color to them. They're not going to stay so plain. All right, so once we've got our trees, we can think about any other details that we might want to put on this side of the street. So maybe there's a lamppost. So a lamppost, or anything that's vertical. So if the trees are vertical in real life, a lamppost is vertical, a fence is vertical. They all have to actually stay completely vertical when you draw them in perspective as well. So let's say this lamppost is kind of in between these two trees. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the pole. And then once I feel like it's high enough, I'm just going to kind of curve towards the street. That's usually sort of how they look. Oftentimes they're 3D, obviously, so there's going to be two sides to it, kind of like a bubble. Okay, and once I've got the basic shape, now's the time that I could add, the light, if I'd like to, and then of course erase the tree from inside it, because these trees are actually behind my lamppost. So if I wanted to create more lampposts, I could do the same thing I did with my tree, choose the highest point of the lamppost, draw a converging line to the vanishing point, and make sure that all the other lamppost edges fit within that line. I'm just going to leave it here with one lamppost. Maybe I'll do one on the other side of the street. So again, it's got to be completely vertical. So this is further away, so this lamppost is going to be shorter. Probably should have been thinner as well. Okay, so this is another great example of why we should be drawing light, because it's now going to be very difficult for me to erase my buildings from inside of this lamppost. All right, so there we have 2 lampposts.